Good evening, everyone. My name is Emmanuel, and I will be moderating today's meeting. I am the membership director for the New York City Network of Worker Cooperatives. Um, we had a panelist, her name is Nicole. Unfortunately, she is not able to join us today because she is sick and has lost her voice. Please, 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 let's send her some virtual love, y'all. Um, In the meantime, I do want to set some acknowledgements. Um, I want to acknowledge the fact that we are 3 days into Pride Month. And I also want to acknowledge and I want to lend our thoughts and prayers to the people of Palestine, Sudan, Congo, Haiti, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, and all oppressed peoples across the world. I now want to take the time to explain a little bit about NYCNoWC and what we do. Uh, Very briefly, NYCNoWC, or in other words, the New York City Network of Worker Cooperatives, is a business trade association dedicated to supporting politically and economically worker cooperative businesses and organizations across the New York City area. But now let's talk about why we're here today. We're here today because NYCNoWC is looking to fundraise. We are in the midst of our spring 2024 fundraiser, and we're looking to raise $20,000 by June 30th. This is money that doesn't just go and live within the bank account of NYCNoWC. It's money that goes into servicing worker cooperatives in very tangible ways. It's money that's going to go into providing interpretation services for meetings. It's money that's going to go into providing funds to encourage peer-to-peer support learning opportunities amongst worker cooperatives. It's money that's going to provide economic support and technical assistance to cooperatives in need. And last but not least, it's money that's going to be used to support and hire more staff and bring in more members of the NYCNoWC Advocacy Council so that we can address the growing list of needs our community has. As I said, every dollar counts in making cooperative futures not just a phrase, but an uppercase statement. I dare, I dare us to use the picture. I dare us to picture a world that's ours. A world where our communities are not commodities to be pillaged and then abandoned. A world where the worker not only has a voice and one vote, but a home, a job, a family, and an interdependent connection to community. This is the world we know we can win. This is the world that we're fighting for. This is the world that NYCNoWC is tirelessly working to build. And so with that said, I want to talk about what exactly do we mean when we say that we're trying to build sustainable cooperative futures. As an addendum to what I mentioned, what this also means is that in the meantime, NYCNoWC is going to do work to equip immigrant worker cooperatives with the tools they need to be a viable alternative to any traditional business. In the meantime, NYCNoWC is doing the work to foster solidarity between Black-led and white-led worker cooperatives to confront the white lash ignited by MAGA, Zionism, and racists across the country. This is what it means for us to do work in the present. This is what it means for us to do work right now in order to get to that vision that we want to get to. in order to win that world that we want to win and to live in that world that we want to live. So with that said, I'm going to open it up a little bit and just briefly explain some of the formatting for this meeting here. We have a few questions that we'll ask worker owners, and then we'll open it up to the public. We will be taking questions at the very end from the public. And we ask that once we are in this segment where we're opening it up to the public, that you please raise your hand using the raise your hand function on the Zoom if you have any questions to ask. And with that said, I'm going to pass it over to our panelists, our amazing panelists, Joelle and Martha. If you can please say your name, pronouns, your relationship to NYCNoWC, and a little bit about your business.
Thank you for that introduction. I guess I'll go first. Hi, everyone. My name is Joel Mejia. You can use ionized pronouns. My co-op, the co-op that I founded in 2020, is called Me Oh My Hydroponic Farms. And we're based out of the Bronx, but we're a citywide co-op, I would say, doing hydroponic farming and also consulting, educating the public. And we got involved with NYCNoWC as soon as we could. As soon as I found out about it, I made sure that the organization was part of it. So, Marta.
Thank you, Joelle. So my name is Martha Montefar. My pronouns are she and hers. And my co-op is Cooperative Home Care Associates. And a brief history of Cooperative Home Care is that it was founded in 1985 by Rick Serpin and Peggy Powell with the purpose of creating good jobs for low-income people of our community. And it was also started at a time when home care workers had terrible jobs, low pay, few benefits, mostly part-time, unstable employment, and really no opportunities for advancement. So what we do is providing home care services to our elders and people living with chronic illnesses and disabilities across the 5 boroughs of New York City. And we also have a free home health aid training program where we train people that want to be home health aides, and then we hire them to work with us. And we offer them a worker ownership to become worker owner of cooperative home care. And so my role as a co-op, I came to the co-op about 6-7 years ago, and I'm currently the workforce development director in addition to being a worker owner.
Amazing, amazing. And I will just say, if it's not obvious, we have two amazing panelists that are also members of the New York City Network of Worker Cooperatives Board of Directors. In addition to that, these are Bronx residents. These are folks who represent worker co-ops that are based out of the Bronx, which is amazing. I am from the Bronx, so I'm honored to be here as moderator of this panel, led by Bronx folks. But without further ado, let's go straight into the questions. Why is being part of NYCNoWC important to you and your worker cooperative business?
So any opportunity to have an association that on your behalf advocates for you at a political level, at an economic level, and that understands what the membership actually means on the ground, I think that is valuable in any industry that you're in. And to find that there's such strong representation in all those areas through NYCNoC was really just important, as I also was sharing being a worker owner to potentially new members of my co-op. It's like, it's not just us out here alone doing this. There's a whole network, believe it or not. And it's actually a national, if not global movement. And folks really, I think, resonate with that, when they come to see all of the amazing resources that NYCNoC currently offers, wants to offer. And there's just a lot of engagement too in the community, which is wonderful. So, I mean, it was like a no-brainer, honestly.
Um, I resonate with everything that Joelle just mentioned, in particular because cooperative home care, and I will use CHCA, which is what our members call it. It's an agency of connection at the end of the day. We are constantly connecting with other organizations. We want to be out more in the community. We want to provide services to our community. And what NYCNoC provides is basically that network. And I'm being a little redundant here, but it does provide this network of um, other cooperatives, other worker-owned organizations that we can partner with. We can provide resources and use their resources to create this self-sufficient world, which is amazing for us. We're always talking about cooperation amongst cooperatives. That's one of our biggest themes at CHCA, especially during the pandemic. We saw how other worker co-ops stood up and assisted the healthcare industry, and how we were able to be of assistance. We saw how we were able to be of assistance to other organizations as well. So I think part of the reason why we came to be members of NYCNoC is for that. It's for the networking, for the community, for the connection that it provides to us. So, and understanding that this is not like a siloed movement. We have to be in communication with each other to make this work.
Really appreciate both of your responses, Joelle and Martha. I will just say that, in the spirit of what you all have contributed to NYCNoC in and of itself, NYCNoC has piloted the Visit a Co-op series this year. And the very first co-op in that series that we piloted was Me Oh My Hydroponic Farms, and it was well received by many, not only within our membership, but within the broader public. We had a mixture of residents of the Bronx attend, staff members of different organizations that participate in the solidarity economy broadly, and in worker cooperative development. And we also had members of NYCNoC participate, and they were just floored by the creativity that you all were leading in Me Oh My, of doing hydroponic farms, but out of an apartment. Um, Again, finding the abundance.
Co-op apartment. It's a co-op too.
And speaking about CACA, I really do appreciate the fact that you all, with the resources that you have, you were able to lend that office space that you had at Fordham Road to a host of worker cooperatives that were Bronx-based, to develop the genesis of what later became the organizing team of the Bronx Town Hall on Worker Cooperatives, which is happening this Thursday. So just talking about that spirit of reciprocity, of giving back, and being in community and cooperation amongst cooperatives. In that same lane, I'm really curious to hear more about uh you know, at a big picture level, what does building sustainable cooperative futures mean to you? And I'm curious to hear from Joel. What does he think?
So building sustainable co-op futures requires the mycelium-like connection across multiple different industries, government institutions, community-based organizations, capital, housing, and land access. Really, there's all these things, right, that are building sort of momentum on their own and are communicating almost telepathically with each other. And at some point, there's going to be just this massive rainbow gathering of New York State folks, maybe national folks, but I see really it being the era of workers. I see workers feeling different about what that means, or at least questioning it, which is such a radical thing. And if we do our jobs correctly, I think the youth will inevitably see it as the most viable thing for their freedom and for their sovereignty and independence. And I think political power too, because money does talk, and we could motivate capital to do whatever we want it to, right? And workers are really learning how capital works for them, right? Flipping the script on capitalism in a subversive way remains for me the most ideal way of doing it. We should be in the press, we should be getting recognized for the achievements, right? And politicians should acknowledge the voice of the people and of the working class. However, I don't look for that for justification, you know what I mean? Like, it'd be great if they could throw some dollars, public dollars our way that belongs to us anyway, but in the end, we can create our own economies where you can use that to get them out of office, you know what I mean? Or at least motivate them to do what we need them to do so they can stay in office. So anyway, those are the pieces though, right? That sustainable co-op futures for me, it's like, gotta handle all those little pieces and not feel for us, for me on my specifically, right? We got a lane, but each of us can play roles in different lanes. We can have an organism is like an organism in the body. The heart does what it does, but it's connected to every other organ, and ultimately there's a body there. So we just want to move like nature does, mycelium again, so that's my take on that.
We
Yeah.
appreciate and Martha, if you can share um your response to that question.
Sure. Yeah. So as I'm listening to this question, I just think about how unsustainable it is to live in New York City at the moment. We have people that can't afford rent. We have families that can't afford food. Even with receiving benefits, it's just very unsustainable. So to me, creating a sustainable co-op futures just means that cooperative is the solution to afford living again here in New York City, because we shouldn't be pushed out to other states or other cities just to make ends meet. I just don't think that that's fair for us, for people who have been living here their whole lives. um and I think for uh cooperative home care in particular, it's about finding that connection of neighbors taking care of neighbors. I always think about it as, and when we did the Adopt a Co-op event in Co-op City, I thought about it. It was like, I want to be able to have people come in and do the home health aid training program if they want to, and then so that they can go take care of their own neighbors. You know, their resources come from within, they come from each other. So I think that using that perspective, it's easier to see how we can sustain each other, even by doing this thing. We don't have to work for a corporation, white America, to start making money and sustain ourselves, because I don't think at the end of the day that's not really sustainable for us.
Appreciate both of your responses to that question. Um, let's go into another question. What have been the biggest barriers to accessing services as a worker cooperative? And I'd like to start with Martha. Mhm.
So, I think for us, um, the biggest barrier, would be just visibility. So we are considered the largest co-op in the country, but even yet, with that acknowledgement and being, highlighted in different forums, um, it's still tough to compete with the other non-co-op home care agencies that are out there. And I don't know if compete is like the right usage of that word, but it's just, other home care agencies in New York City, I feel they take advantage of people who want to try to make ends meet again, and they will advertise whatever they need to advertise to get workers, and then they don't get paid either livable wages, they don't get paid benefits, and they just really are it's they really take advantage of the community, and that for me is the biggest disadvantage um of being situated in the time and place that we are right now, in the home care space. um there are a lot of home care agencies who are doing right, who are providing the benefits and the hours that people need. But for us, it's just those bad players that are in our community, that it causes a barrier for us to grow, um and to let people know that we are there, we're a co-op, we're there, and we're there to assist the community and for us to be a resource for them.
Martha. Joelle?
Yeah, thank you, Marta. That's real. I definitely resonate with a lot of what you were saying, Marta. There's definitely in every industry too, where there's a desire to start and bootstrap something, potentially big players already established, right? And you can't compete on price and attracting talent and all of that. And that I think holds true for sure for us in a way. But I also think that there's another piece to it that I don't overlook, and then that maybe it isn't talked about openly enough. But I think individuals, members of the actual co-op, right, have a lot of decolonizing to do, a lot of baggage with different aspects of providing their labor to something that is potentially the most freeing thing that they've ever done. Enormously talented people that feel stuck, that don't feel worthy or good enough, that they don't well, that they don't deserve ownership, almost, you know what I mean? And it's like it prevents it prevents the individual from seeing what is truly, there's so much abundance in this solidarity economy, waiting to just be like tapped into, you know, and it just it boggles me a little bit, but it doesn't surprise me really, because the programming is so deep. Capitalism has had a good run, you know, and let alone just the beyond of capitalism, the slavery and all the oppression that's still there systemically, right? That if systems are run by individuals, and I believe that, and I think that we are in every day we have the power to run new systems, but the mind is so powerful and has been so conditioned that when an opportunity presents itself, you don't know how to actually take advantage of it, you know. And I've realized that many of the folks working in the co-op right now were never asked if they could own their labor in their entire life, you know what I mean? From never been even considered it. You know what I mean? And I've owned my labor for a long time, but I didn't own it in the way that I own it within the co-op principles framework. You know, I was an entrepreneur within the capitalist system, you know, so I felt like that was the reason why I wanted to like have my own business, because I wanted to be the boss, basically. Right. But this is a different layer of being a boss when you're in a co-op, because I love that, like neighbors taking care of neighbors, you know. We're all ultimately all neighbors, you know, working in this social enterprise. And we know, like, when you can't pay your rent because we can't pay you because we haven't made enough money, you know what I mean? And you still show up and you don't complain, and you're like, no, I get it, and I'll chill and I'll change my life, you know. And you change your lifestyle for your business in a radical way. That's not an easy proposition, you know. So I feel like, to answer your question, I think it's just like, what's the biggest obstacle? Ourselves. You know what I mean? To accessing this beauty that exists, that we keep co-creating in different ways, like I mentioned in the last question. You know, so anyway, just another perspective on that.
I deeply appreciate that. And I am noticing how, Martha, you really leaned on acknowledging the competition, acknowledging that, there are forces outside of the co-op that are targeting our communities and that are swaying our people to join their ranks. Even though we know that these enterprises are not necessarily beneficial for our people. Well, on the flip side, I do hear what you're saying, Joel, about the need to really invigorate our people, the need to invigorate and to promote that working class confidence that is lacking today. To allow working class people to really become protagonists in this battle between the old world and the new world that we're trying to build, where neighbors can learn from each other, like what you all mentioned, where abundance is a common rule, common thing. In that spirit, and in the spirit of really putting ourselves in that new world that we want to live, right? I'm curious to hear from you all. Um, if we had all the resources, if we had the abundance, what would be that one thing that would make the 180 difference uh, for your cooperative business? Let's really try to itemize what that thing is. And it could be something you already mentioned, but I'm just curious to see what is that one thing.
Marta, you go.
The one thing for CHCA, I think that the biggest thing is being more, and I said it in the previous question, but being more visible to other people, attracting new clients, attracting new groups of people that want to be home health aides. And to Joelle's point, I think um, we do need to provide more trainings, invigorate our uh, populations, our communities, our the people that are working in our cooperatives, because at the end of the day, they are investing in their own future. One of the things that I heard recently from another worker owner in my cooperative was that there was a client that they were taking care of, her and two or three other people, and the client didn't have enough money for rent, and they got together and they paid the rent for the client. And I just thought that was so beautiful to see. And even though you're not supposed to, according to policies and stuff, you're not supposed to get super close to the client because they're not, they're the person that you're going to take care of. They're not your family member. But I think that just is a testament of what cooperatives are and how cooperative home care works. Um, and I think that the more people understand that, the more we're gonna grow as a whole, as a community, whether that's working in home care or working in making food accessible to people in the Bronx. It's it's and we talk a lot about, let's market out there in other boroughs. Let's market in and we recently got a license for Westchester County. Let's go out and market in Westchester County. And that's great. And I do believe that, the power of the people can make that happen. We can get more business. We can get more people who are interested in doing the home health aid training program. So, but that knowledge of working in community and working in solidarity with other people, it works. And it makes life so much easier and better.
Wonderful. Thank you, Martha. We follow a principle, food is medicine, right? So if individuals in the Bronx that felt food insecure, matter of fact, food citywide, right? Anyone who felt food insecure could also feel like getting access to superfoods was achievable and not so difficult, and that maybe they could actually learn how to grow it themselves. I think our business would turn around dramatically, just have like a super shoot up. And then eventually my goal would be for it to be so widespread that there'd be really producer co-ops everywhere, doing this work and feeding people with this. And that's the abundance, right? Like what you said, right? Like if I were to pull out some abundance, is that people are transforming their diets right now, and that they're connecting to nature in their own way, and that these conditions are leading to more sales, and more understanding of a local economy and buying local, and right? Because money won't fix all our problems. It would get us going in a certain direction. So I could say money, and I could even say advertising and all of that, but really building relationships with those people who have done that work that I just mentioned. That's who we want to tap into that consciousness, and hopefully it filters down to the people who are like curious. The co-op curious, I call them. Yeah.
I really appreciate both of your responses to this question, because it's also a question that NYCNoWC as a network of worker cooperatives grapples with as well. We are trying to proliferate information around worker cooperatives. We're trying to engage in that battle winning hearts and minds so that people could understand that, you know something, worker cooperatives is actually a viable alternative to the gig economy, to traditional businesses. I don't have to be a deliverista. I don't have to be working under someone. I could be my own boss alongside other people that I get along with.
Yeah.
It's very fascinating to hear both of you speak about the just the issues y'all are facing in your businesses, because it's, you know, I think it's testament to the work that we need to do here in NYCNoWC. And, you know, I'm very excited about what could happen in a year from now, as we start to engage with more community organizations based out of the Bronx, but all across the city. Because like I mentioned earlier, that battle of hearts and minds, I think that's where we actually start shifting the consciousness of folks. When we start talking to people in their community organizations, in their churches, in tenant associations, so on and so forth, to really prove to people that there are viable alternatives. That idea that you mentioned, Joel, about around advertising the work, um, you know, it's something that really resonates with us here at NYCNoWC, because we are in the business to advertise the solidarity economy and the success of worker cooperatives, but also be in support and in service to worker cooperatives across the city. And so really appreciate both of your responses to that question. Um, I am going to shift gears to another question that I have. So NYCNoWC's goal is to support worker cooperatives, not just to grow quickly, but to grow strategically, and in a way that allows them to be autonomous and empowered. Again, similar themes, right? What is your advice for cooperatives that are looking to scale sustainably? And I'm looking at you, Martha, because you had mentioned that CACA, they're growing into Westchester County, which is amazing. You're going beyond the Bronx. And you all are the largest worker cooperative in the entire country. And so I'm looking at you to see if you can answer this question, Martha. What's your
Yeah. And I think true to what we have been saying for the other questions, I think the answer to that is to reach out to other cooperative builders, to reach out to NYCNoWC to make that connection, to assist your cooperative to expand. I think one of our biggest help right now is we reached out to other organizations like the ICA group, like the Working World, to assist us to strategically grow, because our expertise is in home care, but their expertise is, to analyze the data and provide us with like answers of where it is that the sector is growing the most. And I think just having those connections are really helpful for any organization, but specifically for worker co-ops, because now we're able to have the tools or the basis to go out there and bring in different people that can help us grow even further. Like even with us going to Westchester County, it's a big ask because it's different. There's a lot of different neighborhoods, a lot of different socioeconomic statuses there. So it's gonna be a different ballgame than New York City, but we're excited to tackle that challenge and to bring more worker co-ops there.
Martha and Joel?
Y'all are stars, you know that. It's so awesome to hear that. We're so not at that level, you know. It's amazing because it helps us really see it's like more money, more problems, right? Like Biggie had it right when he said it. Um, and so really what I would say for folks to really grow sustainably is this is about people, this is like a people-centered social movement redefining work. And some people have not had that pressure before. So be flexible, have patience, believe that one person might not know it all, but together you know a lot. And to use that, right, as a strength and play off everybody's diversity as much as possible, and to have that be part of the design up front, that you want diverse voices in your co-op. You definitely want to get away from yes people, and folks ready to commit to their higher self, really, the higher learning. um and then to like have clear processes, have clear systems in place, that goes a long way. You got to think about revenue, got to think about the business. Culture, really, really vital to maintain cohesiveness and for people to feel like they're not just working, you know what I mean? Because it's so much more than that. um yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
Takes more than just construction workers to build a house.
Yes,
Electricians, architect, the visionary,
mm,
takes so many people, and so all ideas should be welcome in in the spirit of growth, in the spirit of scaling, in the spirit of taking your co-op to that next level that it needs to get to. Right? Really appreciate both of you for your responses here. And I also wanna just mention, Joel, as someone who has been a thought partner for you for many years now, whether it be with the spot you once had over at Riverdale, and then when we were thinking about a Bronx commune at 5500 Broadway. Um, I definitely do value like what you have to say regarding this stuff, because like you do bring a lot of that visionary thinking into this. But just as well, I do appreciate you, Martha, because you all are doing the work. You all are reaching out to the people you have to reach out to. You mentioned ICA Group. ICA Group is an organization we work with very, very closely, and they dedicate a lot of time and energy and resources to supporting existing traditional businesses and becoming worker cooperatives, as well as a whole wheelhouse of other things that they do. And so you all are doing the work, you all are growing, and it's an inspiration not just to NYCNoWC, but to everyone within our membership, I would say. Um, but with that said, I do have another question. Um,
I'm coming.
with your NYCNoWC board hat on, what are you most excited to see the organization working on now or in the coming months?
So, I was very excited to hear this question because I feel like as part of the board, I get to know of all like the inner workings, and it's so obvious how hard NYCNoWC works to get all these events, all these programs that are going on simultaneously, and it's like it's amazing to see. And what I am most excited to see right now is the resources that NYCNoWC is providing to their members, to assist them to do put on different events. Most notably, I think I was thinking about the conference, a national conference at the U.S. Federation in Chicago, and assisting people who are not able to attend on their own. How can they get there? And providing that support, because at the end of the day, that's going to benefit again their cooperative, their network, to get to know other cooperatives across the nation. So I think that's that's one of the, like, I when I heard that, I was very excited. I was like, wow, this is legit. This is a this is an organization that really works to connect people, and I really appreciate that.
Ditto. Seriously. Joining a board is such a huge responsibility, and there's such an honor to that. Really, I don't feel worthy, but I appreciate having the opportunity to serve. And I'm into the inner workings of stuff like this. You know, I mean, I'm a geek when it comes to that stuff. And this is the type of organization that where I live now, I live in the Hudson Valley now, and we need a knick-knack of the Hudson Valley. So, you know, I'll mess around and start one up here. You know what I mean? And like this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. Like I also feel like I'm such a creative person, you know, that joining a board for folks that are into co-ops, it's like these are my people, you know, and we can just be geniuses together, you know. And so there's so much ahead for us, you know. The team works so hard. I echo that, like with a massive boombox. Like you guys work so hard in the background, and it's noted. And nobody can talk shit about y'all in front of me. That's for sure. Sorry to curse.
I appreciate the candid news. Uh, you know, um, yeah, it's just very blunt and lovely and
It's the truth.
um and I appreciate what you have to say to Martha regarding the U.S. Federation conference that's coming up in September. It's work that is very, very important to us. It's very, very important for our members. And the best role that a local network like NYCNoWC could play is to facilitate um, the travel and the accommodations for our members as best as we can. It's work that we're doing currently, and it's work that we've done historically. And so um, very, very important, and it's bedrock to our cooperative principles of cooperation amongst cooperatives. We want to make sure that cooperatives from New York are connecting with other co-ops from across the country, so that we can dive into building value chains. There could be networking, even if it doesn't lead to value chains. It's good for worker owners to know that there's other worker owners within the same industry in other parts of the country. Um, because sometimes working within a worker cooperative setting, even if it's just your co-op, it could be very, very tiresome and lonely. And, you know, in expanding and branching out, you're seeing that there's other people who might be sorting through some of the same issues you're sorting through, or have already sorted out through those issues at one point in the arc of the business. And the co-ops here in New York City can learn from those other co-ops, or vice versa. And so network is so crucial. And this is specifically why I do stress the hyperlocal network of NYCNoWC that's local to New York City, and why we exist. We exist to connect co-ops to each other, to promote peer-to-peer support amongst worker cooperatives, and so on and so forth. But I'm gonna go to my last question, which is, how can others support your co-ops and work directly? Let's make an ask of the audience, please.
Oh my goodness. Oh man. Well, eat healthier. If you are anywhere in the Bronx, or if you have a CSA that you'd like to join in any of the boroughs, just reach out and we'll plug you in. And there's all kinds of stuff you can buy online, you know, but you can support by really learning about your health, you know, and getting into food as medicine for sure.
Yeah, it for us it's just If you know somebody who needs home care services, or if you need home care services, reach out to us. We are more than happy to get you started with the process, and know that you're joining a cooperative that truly cares for the health outcomes of their clients and for the I don't know how to say bienestar, but bienestar
Mm.
of their of well-being. Yes, thank you, Sadaf. The well-being of their workers and their worker owners. So you don't have to be a worker owner to be part of cooperative. It still applies, all the benefits still apply. It's if you have, or if you are a person who can provide, other resources like visibility or like health fairs or whatnot, feel free to reach out to us as well. We're constantly wanting to partner up with different organizations, want to be in the community and make ourselves be more present. So that's my ask.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for sharing so much wisdom to our community of folks here on this Zoom. Um, I'm going to transition to talking a bit about NYCNoWC's approach to sustaining cooperative futures using the Cooperative Sustainability Fund. So what is the Co-op Sustainability Fund? The Co-op Sustainability Fund is a $2,000 grant that we administer and run and function to support worker cooperatives, particularly member benefit for members of NYCNoWC. And so we encourage folks to join NYCNoWC if they're interested in attaining the Cooperative Sustainability Fund. There's nothing off the table when it comes to what we can support, but we do encourage members to cite things that could enhance their business, not necessarily paying off debts or paying off any payments to any other provider or vendor that they have utilized. But in the past, we have used the Co-op Sustainability Fund to support co-ops in obtaining financial management training, marketing services, website support, business planning, and so much more. I mean, think about a worker cooperative that was just developed by Green Work Cooperatives or Center for Family Life or Urban Upbound or Riseboro or Custom Collaborative. And now that they've finished their program, they're kind of left to fend for themselves, so to say. And, they can choose to join NYCNoWC and be surrounded by other worker cooperatives where they could learn from other co-ops. But in addition to that, they would have access to the Co-op Sustainability Fund, which could support them in attaining a website. Something as simple as that could make a night or day difference in really promoting the business. And so that's a tangible benefit that we offer for worker cooperative members. And just to speak about the finances of the program, back in 2021, the Cooperative Sustainability Fund was within an estimated $22,000, meaning we offered within the range of, we offered like 11 grants in total back in 2021. Since then, the Cooperative Sustainability Fund has more than doubled. And so now we're offering within the range of 20 to 25 grants for worker cooperatives that are members of the New York City Network of Worker Cooperatives. And we're able to do that because of the fundraising that we do. We're able to do that because of the advocacy work that we do. We're able to do that because of all of our supporters, all of our sustainers who really believed in cooperative futures. Um, and so in addition to the Cooperative Sustainability Fund, I will say that in this past year, we actually piloted a different program, which was supplementary to the Cooperative Sustainability Fund, because in and of itself, the Cooperative Sustainability Fund is seasonal. And so we usually roll it out during the spring. However, with this new program known as the Cooperative Quick Fund, it's a funding opportunity of up to $500 where worker owners, they can apply to it for any emergent needs, and it's year long. Something that was very successful once we piloted it a few years ago, where some of the businesses that took advantage of it were, for example, Wolf Foods. Wolf Foods is a worker cooperative business that needed interpretation services for an event that they were having that was transnational. It was between the Dominican Republic and the Dominican diaspora here in New York City. And they needed to hire interpreters for the Zoom. And because of the Cooperative Quick Fund, we were able to support them in a short term notice. It was a week away and we quickly helped them. We supported and recruited the interpreters, and they were able to get paid for this amazing event that connected land rights, environmental issues, and worker cooperatives, more broadly speaking, more in tune with the solidarity economy. And so that's a very tangible example in which the Cooperative Quick Fund was able to help a worker cooperative. In another instance, there was a business that was having internal issues. There were issues amongst members of the business. And the Cooperative Quick Fund was able to parachute support for that business to hire a mediator that ultimately helped resolve the issue that they were facing. And so these are just some of the tangible ways in which the Cooperative Quick Fund has supported members, as well as the Cooperative Sustainability Fund. Just to speak a little bit more about the success stories that exist because of the Cooperative Sustainability Fund, I will say that in the case of Wholehearted Bookkeeping Cooperative, which is a worker cooperative that's based out of Brooklyn, they were able to apply to the Cooperative Sustainability Fund last spring, and they were able to hire a mediator that supported them in a mediation track that lasted for a few sessions, but it was very, very helpful. And the worker owners of of Wholehearted Bookkeeping Cooperative mentioned to me that they don't know where they would have been if the funding was not available for them to hire this mediator. And so that made a world of a difference. And that was an impact that NYCNoWC was able to make in the case of this worker cooperative business. In another instance, we were able to support Wholehearted Bookkeeping Cooperative in training another worker cooperator, I should say. Now she's a worker owner, but she was a general cooperator, someone who was very, very much interested in the worker cooperative community. This is a person who was monolingual Spanish speaking, an immigrant of the Dominican Republic, and a person who just felt like they had very, very little opportunities in life because of the real limitations that they had being a monolingual Spanish speaking woman, and at that, an immigrant. Through the Cooperative Sustainability Fund, we were able to support Wholehearted Bookkeeping Cooperative to support this person who, despite already having knowledge around accounting and bookkeeping, they didn't have the language to really perform the bookkeeping support that they had to do if they were to work in a bookkeeping company. And so because of the Cooperative Sustainability Fund, we were able to support Wholehearted Bookkeeping Cooperative in supporting this particular cooperator, attain the language, get training on how to do bookkeeping, training that even though she had it, she needed more training, so that then she can be in a co-op, with very little training for the co-op for that particular co-op to do, for this one particular member. And so that's an enroll that we were able to make because of the Co-op Sustainability Fund. Where we were helping people who had these skills, they had the desire, but they felt limited. In another instance, we were able to support a group of worker co-ops. At that, I would say 5 different worker co-ops that were applying for the Co-op Sustainability Fund for the same reason. They desired financial management. And we were able to work with them. And instead of each co-op getting financial management, we were able to think creatively around what we can do here. Since they're all looking for the same services, maybe we can create a track with all the members, so that they can learn how to do basic functions that relates to the book, whether it's reading profit and losses, a balance sheet, whether it's doing payroll. We were able to support another known co-op by the name of Rating Consulting in supporting these 5 worker co-ops, learn how to do their finances at a very basic level. And that was facilitated because of the Cooperative Sustainability Fund. And again, because of the Cooperative Sustainability Fund, we're also encouraging cooperation amongst cooperatives, which is a bedrock fundamental principle of the cooperative community. And so I share all these examples to highlight that the Cooperative Sustainability Fund, as well as the Cooperative Quick Fund, is definitely something that's desired by our members. I do see us in the near future, perhaps in this new fiscal year, as we wrap up this month, growing the Cooperative Sustainability Fund by an extra $10,000, or possibly even $20,000. I also see us reaching out to other members that have not benefited from the Cooperative Sustainability Fund due to the popularity of the grant, so that they can also benefit by the benefit from the Co-op Sustainability Fund. And so I share that to just say that it's a very important program that supports worker cooperatives, and it encourages cooperation amongst cooperatives. And it's something that we're looking to invest more energy and more time and more money into in the future. But with that said, I am going to stop talking, and I would love to encourage others who's here on this Zoom call with us to raise their hands if they're interested in asking a question, whether it's of me or of any of our panelists, Martha, Joelle. Please use the raise your hand function on the Zoom if you're interested in asking a question. Have the ability to build whatever structures and whatever systems they desire. If the network is not NYCNoW, our members have that ability. And currently it is NYCNoW. And so we just truly cherish each and every single one of you who are members of NYCNoW and that make NYCNoW your home. And I don't just say that very loosely. I mean, we're talking about what I mentioned earlier, NYCNoWC being a business trade association that's here to defend politically and economically the rights of worker cooperatives. And so NYCNoWC is the political and economic home for worker cooperatives here in New York City. And I think that also speaks to our desire to change the world, our desire to change the way politics operate here at the city level and at the state level. It speaks to a lot of what Ruth was saying as a member of Advocacy Council. And Joelle, you had mentioned this earlier too regarding politics and how like that's a very important feature of NYCNoWC. And you were mentioning this, Martha, regarding the Advocacy Council. But as a business trade association, that is our functional role to provide advocacy. This past year, worker cooperatives have been hit by a series of laws that came all the way from up top at the federal level, be it the LLC Corporate Act, which is making it so that now LLC cooperatives or businesses have to disclose up to 25% of the ownership class of the business, which puts a lot of people in jeopardy. And so functionally, our role is to advocate against that. It's to do work, not only at the city level, but at the state level, possibly even the federal level with our partners at the US Federation to change all that. And we're currently doing work, I will say. And so we understand that the world that we're living in is what it is. It's the world that modern day Palestine is struggling to survive under. It's the world that Sudan is trying to survive under. It's the world that the Congo is trying to survive under. It's the world that the people here in the Bronx are trying to survive under. And all across the world, working people everywhere are trying to survive under this world that's defined by capital. And at that capitalism, we envision a world that's about cooperativism, where people are being centered, not profit. And so with that said, my direct ask to everyone is to consider donating to NYCNoWC. All amounts are significant given the magnitude of the work we have in front of us, be it locally, nationally, internationally. If you're able and consider becoming a sustainer by signing up for automatic monthly donations, that's even better. That shows commitment to this broader agenda of really supporting worker cooperatives that aren't just developing businesses, but that are also confronting the world's issues. And so please consider donating to NYCNoWC. Help us raise $20,000 by June 30th. And before I close, I will just say that if you're interested in getting involved with some of our programming, we are having a Bronx Town Hall on June 6th, which is this Thursday. It's going to happen at the YMCA La Central, which is right off 149th Street and 3rd Avenue. The address is 434 Westchester Avenue. It is a Bronx Hall where we're convening a bunch of Bronx partners and allies to discuss organizing in the Bronx, to discuss how do we serve the different communities that live in the Bronx. Because we know that we have to do a better job in that. And that's the work that we're prioritizing. And so I want to advertise that. And I also want to let you all know that we will be having our second Visitor Co-op session, I should say, of the series. And it's going to be at Radax Media. We're gonna visit Radax Media, which is a print shop. They also do publishing. They print a lot of things for NYCNoWC. They print a lot of things for other worker co-ops. I know that there are businesses on this call who have been clients of Radax Media. And we're incredibly excited to do this tour of their shop. And we're eager to invite everyone, whether you're a member of NYCNoC, whether you're just here listening and you want to participate in this to learn more about how worker co-ops actually play out tangibly on the ground, or whether you're from an organization and you want to be a little bit more rooted to the worker owners and the shops. And so please, please, please let us know if you're interested in attending that session. You can email me at the email that's here on the chat, and I will get you more information about that. All right. And last but not least, I encourage you all to please spread the word about NYCNoC. Please spread the word about our fundraiser. Spread the word, spread the word about what all of our members are doing, whether it's Martha and CHCA, whether it's Joel and Mio Mai, Ruth and Palante, and so many others on this call and beyond. Please spread the word about worker cooperatives. Thank you, everyone.